No, you're not dreaming. It's House of R, Vampire Lestat, a little early in your feeds. I'm Joanna Robinson. Joining me today, the beautiful, the luminescent, the queen of the damned herself, Mallory Rubin.
Straighten your tie. Inflate your lips, be it facial or labial. We're back.
Why don't you just hit us? What was the other? You were deciding between two. What was the other one?
Really torn between that and bought a retirement villa and wallpapered her basement sex dungeon with billable hour invoices, which, like, goals.
Yeah. Christine could not be more Mallory goals quoted. We're here to talk about episode 5, New York, which is where those lines came from, and also episode 6, Montreal.
That's right.
In which a lot of stuff happened, and we'll get to all of that. Don't lose your head right after this. Quick programming reminders. The Vampire Lestat every week-ish. We had Miss last week, but we're doing a double dose this week, and then we'll be here at some point for the finale. We don't have screeners for the finale yet, so we don't know if we're getting them.
Monday the 20th at the absolute latest.
At the latest. Yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
Would be my guess. House of the Dragon.
That's right. Have you heard of it?
A really fun special Talk the Thrones is coming for y'all.
Yeah.
This week. Also, the deep dive.
That's right.
I'm excited.
Same. It's been so fun to cover this season. Thrilling.
And then, what do you call in the other ones that we're doing this week?
Adi and Oppie. We have our last Christopher Nolan Revisited podcast on Oppenheimer. Our hope and dream is for Sean Fennessy to join us for that. He's currently out of the country. So
currently in Canada, but if he makes it back, that's the plan.
We have a lot of, like, if the schedule cooperates stuff in the mix right now, but that's the goal. And then, of course,
would you say Sean Fennessy is the atomic bomb of The Ringer?
Has Sean Fennessy ever sat nude in a hotel armchair, legs crossed? I
didn't ask if
at
he's
exactly the right angle.
The Robert J. Oppenheimer. I said, is he the bomb?
Well, you know, these are both good and reasonable questions.
Why
I think
we've been watching all of these Nolan movies,
folks. The Odyssey arrives next week. It's finally time to cover the Odyssey, and we have seen it, and it is amazing. It is incredibly good. We can't wait to pod about it. We're going to try to see it again before we do a deep dive on that, and that's going to be the end of next week. We have a lot of podcasts coming in the feed next week. We're like a week and a half, 2 weeks. I don't know. How far away is Comic-Con? Not far. So stay tuned for more information about Comic-Con. We'll be there. The Midnight Boys Pew Pew will be there. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up. It's an exciting time.
So follow the pod. Why not? Watch us on YouTube or Spotify, wherever you get your videos. Not wherever, but some places. And we're on social at House of Our Pod. And you can email us hobbitsanddragons@gmail.com.
Do it. The inbox is always open.
It is. Spoiler warning.
Yeah.
Informed by our knowledge of the Vampire Lestat, Queen of the Damned. And there's a passage from the book Merrick is going to be read in this episode, but it's not spoiling anything because it's relates to something that happens in episode 6 of Vampire Lestat.
Like all of the other books, I have read not a page nor a word of Merrick, so it's all new to me. And I'm excited to learn from you, my maker, in all vampire things.
My beautiful fledgling.
The only thing is Don't
you think you're my maker?
Well, it's all a circle.
Okay.
You know? Yeah, we're a little like snake eating its tail here on this podcast. I think the only downside of a maker fledgling relationship in either direction. Literally the only one I can think of. I wouldn't want to not be able to communicate telepathically with you. I
know.
You know? Though I think we could still do a lot of like meaningful eye contact and we know what the other person's thinking.
I have a question. This is like before opening Snapshot, I'm just going to get right into it. At the beginning of this episode 6 rather, Lestat like sends a telepathic message to Alex. Yeah. And then later he says something to Gabrielle about like his, so do you think Gabrielle made Alex?
I do.
And that's why Lestat and Alex can, but like, then I'm surprised he couldn't like read Alex's intentions. Is that some sort of like Armand soup? Up. You know,
or the love fog, the fog of love that Daniel keeps talking about back on that bench with Louis, talking about the future,
talking about what blooms at night.
Just a wonderful sequence in this episode. I was also very much in a heated rivalry, like the cottage headspace when he talked about he said cabin, I think, not cottage, but still.
Why was I envisioning like a mobile home? Why was I envisioning that Lestat and Louis would live in a mobile home?
I think what Louis was describing had a real, like, what's it called, an Airstream?
Yeah, I was thinking of them in an Airstream.
First of all, should we get one?
Yeah.
I think that sounds great.
Should we drive an Airstream to Comic-Con?
Why not?
Honestly, it would be quite
That
convenient.
would be wonderful.
Yeah.
We could take turns. It's like a 3-hour drive, but we both, I think, are exhausted and can use a nap, so we could alternate, stretches on the 5, little power nap. That sounds great. Wonderful.
All right, quick facts. Episodes 5 and 6, New York and Montreal. New York directed by Levin Akin. Montreal directed by Jane Wu. Really fascinating choice for a director of this episode. If you look at Jane Wu's CV, Marvel storyboard artist, supervising director of Blue Eye Samurai, worked on Into the Spider-Verse, House of the Dragon. Like, she's just like kind of touched everything that we care about. It's incredible.
I love it. She's
very like having gone from like storyboard artist to director. She's done a lot of like action-based stuff and visual stuff. So it's really interesting that this episode, Montreal, which is such like a walk and talk episode, it's not a big action episode. She's just a fascinating choice. I'm really interested as to why she was the choice here. Episode 5, New York, was co-written by Daniel Hart, composer of the show, and Hannah Moscovich, who's one of the exec producers on the show. And then Montreal, co-written by Ryan Katner, who's in the band, the Vampire Lestat, is the vampire salamander now.
An icon.
And Kevin Hanna.
Icon.
So I don't know exactly how that all broke out, that Daniel Hart and Ryan Katner got writing credits on these episodes, but that's very cool. So, and I loved these episodes, spoilers. So quickly before we get into, I think we've already said that we like these episodes, but before we get into that, I just really quickly want to mention great news from AMC's Dan McDermott, who's one of the chiefs at AMC, on the future of the franchise in an interview with Leslie Goldberg at The Ankler. Leslie just took sort of like a big picture look with Dan at the state of AMC and sort of why, they're getting into like more horror content, franchising, all, they have a long history with horror with The Walking Dead, but they're just like really leaning in that direction. How are witches and vampires and all these things the future, and zombies, of course, always the future of AMC. He said in that interview that the Vampire Lestat is massively outperforming their projected streaming numbers.
Love it.
That's wonderful. And then he spoke about planning to do at least 2 more seasons based on Queen of the Damned and Tale of the Body Thief. And so it sounds like any question of like, is there going to be more of this show? I think there's no question there's going to be more of this show. How many more seasons? I don't know, but they seem like the show, as we've already talked about, both in the spoiler section and out, has really set up for Queen of the Damned and Tale of the Body Thief. Yeah. So like both of those books are definitely the writers on the show are like, we're hoping and planning that we get to tell those stories, but it sounds like the studio is also like, let's tell those stories.
Well, here's a question.
Yeah.
This is great news, obviously. Will your outfit change when we're covering those future seasons? Because this is, I think, probably appropriate for all seasons of this wonderful show. Mm-hmm. But this is very much a way to honor Lestat, the rock star.
Oh.
So will you have
a Queen of the Damned fit?
Queen of the Damned fit? Will you have I don't.
I have no idea what a body thief fit would be.
Are you prepared to commit right now that you will come in costume for future seasons?
You all did let me expense this coat. I have been reimbursed for this coat. So if you're going to let me expense future like Queen of the Damned fits, let me know. Sure, why not? Also, fun fact I don't know why you'd be listening to this podcast necessarily if you aren't able to watch Lestat, but it is hitting Netflix July 20th for certain international markets, but not for the US yet. So but I think sooner to Netflix than you would think is what I think is going to happen.
This is, let's make sure we hit up the group chat, tell CR, because wasn't he sort of like, once it's on Netflix,
I'll get into it.
You better fucking follow through.
That's great. Once the soccer is done, it's vampire time. All right. Mallory.
Yes.
Hey, Mallory Rubin.
Yes.
Did you like these episodes of television?
I did. I'm just having such a great time with the season, and I'm sad that it's ending. Obviously
one more episode.
I know 2 today, so I don't want to think about the end of 7 while we still have 5 and 6 to discuss, but one more new hour awaiting us is pretty sad. I'll be sad when it's over. Though looking forward to revisiting it, not only this season, but the whole series.
Yeah.
That'll be really fun. I texted you I I have had captions. Yeah. For some reason, I had the ability to activate the closed captioning, and you didn't, and I didn't on the screeners previously. Yeah. They have vanished for me. And so my first watch through 5, I was like...
It's disorienting without the captions. Yes. And it takes forever because you're like, did they just say what I think they just said?
Yeah. Second watch through, I had a wonderful time. Yeah. And obviously, for me, with no exposure to the book canon and the book lore in this case, and just like the kernels of the mentions of Akasha, the mentions of the Queen, what I've learned on the pod so far, that felt like a really big monumental thing to have the full Akasha experience, or the first full Akasha experience inside of episode 5. I thought episode 6 was extraordinarily good. That was my favorite of the season so far. Episode 3 had been the high mark to that point, but I thought 6 was just incredible. Hard not to love an episode that really roots us back inside of the Lestat-Louis relationship again.
Yeah.
The comedy of it, but the heart of it, the way that they are saying such awful things to each other, well, and more so in one direction, which then becomes fodder for like, you're being very judgy. And also like, when you called and I needed you, I showed up, and where's that in turn?
It's a great point from Lestat.
But you did fuck your mom. Fascinating. And
also, you got some blood vom on my kicks.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I did want to note, while I love Louis and have a lot of room in my heart for watching these two vampires who we adore struggle and make mistakes, we're just a couple hours removed from watching Louis, now months in the canon of the show, but hours for us, watching Louis pull out Bruce's spine with his bare hands, but when he gets a little blood vomit on his shoes, he's like...
On the,
they were nice shoes.
Platform chucks? Is that what they were?
They were.
I thought
probably
they looked
a
great.
Designer version of them, but yes, very good shoe.
They look fantastic.
The Claudia and let's just chef's kiss Lestat, Fraudia was amazing.
So good.
That whole seance, the introduction in the show of Merrick, I really thought that was like mesmerizing, that entire sequence. The performances are sensational. And there's just these moments where, again, one of the things I've appreciated about this season is like trying to understand and read something in a look. So like when I think probably one of the moments we both loved the most was Lestat serenading Louis as Gabriella watched them watch each other. But even just before that,
I might start crying right now.
It's like so good. The really charming, I was chuckling in that way that you like kind of like feel yourself smiling on reflex when you're just watching something that makes you happy. Lestat goes up for sound check. Gabriella and Louis are next to each other for the first time. Lestat is hamming it up. And there's the great, he's shy. It's hard to be him. Like, wink, wink. We've never spoken, but we both understand this person in our own ways. And then we watch him, Lestat, use the cloud gift to just kind of like bop around the rafters on set. It was such a perfect little encapsulation of the dynamics of the show. And then to watch Gabriella, like the look on her face as she's turning and looking at Louis and try to understand what is going through her mind in that moment. I just thought it was great. Obviously, there's some wild Daniel and Armand stuff in this episode. The Larry, I almost called him Patrick, Schitt's Creek high for as always. The Larry stuff was harrowing. It was just really, really good 2 episodes. And episode 6, I thought was just amazing.
I really, really agree. I think having these absolutely show-stopping scenes for both the Akasha character and for Claudia, for those actresses to just like really, really stop us in our tracks. We're going to talk about the Akasha scene, of course, but I just thought that was like jaw-dropping.
Really
and
good.
Like, it's funny, I was watching with my best friend Diana, and she loves both ironically and also kind of not the Queen of the Damned movie, which is a terrible movie, but like is one of her favorite movies, but is a terrible movie. And like she knows that. And I was worried because like I know a lot of people are really attached to Aaliyah's performance of Akasha. And so there's like a lot of expectation around that. And it's a very different performance. And so then I was like, I turned to Diana and I was like, I had already seen it. I was like, what did this Akasha work for you? And she's like, Aaliyah who, essentially. She was just like, this is incredible. And I mean, like with love and respect to Aaliyah, but it was just sort of like, this is just absolutely astounding stuff. It was so good. In like minutes, mere minutes of airtime. Yeah. I cannot wait to spend more time with that character. So I thought that was incredible. I thought, we've had some questions about the Regina character and like what they're doing with Claudia this season and all this sort of stuff like that. And so for this to be the payoff, this seance scene, which is drawn from another book, which we'll talk about, but like was just so hard to watch.
Painful.
And just like an incredible once again, showcase for that actress.
Yeah.
So just incredible work for those women. And then Louis and Lestat, our guys.
God. Yeah.
I also think that Gabriella scene that you're describing with Louis, the two of them sitting there, that's the most I've enjoyed that character and that performance.
No question.
You know, she's like, I'll protect you.
Yeah.
Like you know, her whole like, you shouldn't come. Like all of that stuff, like all of her scheming, all of her whatever, all of her jealousies, all of her trying to be charming, but Louis is not into it at all is just, I loved that exchange between the two of them. And really I was just sort of like, this is the Gabriella I wish I had had this response to more of her this season. You know what I mean?
Same. I found myself quite taken with her in this stretch, which was really fun. And I think that overall, because you could put some of the Daniel moments for sure in this bucket as well, this was a great stretch of the series of the season for like, how do I put this? So much of the show is by design and intention overt and in your face, right? Like it's flashy, it's showy, it's supposed to be. Lestat is that character, especially this season.
Right.
And there are a lot of moments in these episodes where the characters are saying things out loud and interrogating, why do I behave this way?
Yeah,
why do I do the things that I do?
Who are we? Why are we here?
We love that.
Are we evil?
Yes.
Am I evil?
And then paired with that, a lot of moments where you were trying to just look into someone's eyes and understand the truth of what they are not sharing, either with the other people in the conversation or maybe even with themselves. Yeah. Like, what are they not ready to acknowledge? What don't they understand? So it was a great, I think 6 in particular, a great episode for like motive, right? What motivates characters to behave a certain way?
And I think what's both interesting and maybe I think a little bit frustrating is like when you hear Roland and his writers and producers talk about this, they're like, oh, that Armand and Larry scene in the subway, or oh, the introduction that we get of Marius, like, you're not getting the whole story. There's more to that you're not seeing. And part of that is like the the POV that we're in. The Marius we meet is the Marius that Lestat remembers. He remembers getting a 10-minute orientation and then Marius like fucking off. Like that's what he remembers. Is that truly what happened? Unclear. Right. It's different from the Marius in the book. And so Roland's like, we plan to do much more with that character. And like, you know, this is just a taste of him and there's more to come. But and that's intriguing, but also can sometimes be frustrating if you feel on the outside of a story that you're watching. Right. But to your point about sort of the outspoken literal existentialism that we hear from both Lestat and Akasha and some other characters, and then you get a moment like in episode 5 when Lestat goes to and claps eyes on Regina for the first time, and
so good,
and then she leaves, and so we just watch his face when she can't see his face. And then we watch him put the mask back on and the posturing back on and his incredibly stealth hoodie sunglasses disguise that he has on. But like that, and then the lies that he's telling Louis and the truth and the core truths that he's telling Louis at the same time when he goes out and he's like, it's nothing like her.
Right.
I mean, it is and it isn't. Yeah. And you know, and all that's incredible. Or in terms of like musical performance, I have been so excited all season about all the music, and music is storytelling and all that sort of stuff. But we, you know, the way we have set it up to talk today, I wanted to talk specifically about Stained Glass Eyes, the song that Lestat sings about Claudia.
Yeah.
And then you already mentioned Lestat serenading Louis. Like, I think those are the two. I don't know what they had planned for the finale in terms of musical moments. How do you top that? But like this serenading Claudia's ghost. Yeah. And then not just Lestat singing to Louis, but Louis' face while watching Lestat sing to him is just like ecstasy to me in terms of like musical performance as heightened emotional delivery and singing the things you can't say.
Yes.
And all of that, you know.
Those were my 2 favorite songs of the season. Yeah. I would say by a comfortable margin, which like for me is maybe about musical style and taste. Yeah. I found myself listening to both of those and I was like, I could see myself as like a teenager, you know, hitting just like repeat on my Discman time after time after time.
Billboard does not agree with you.
Fuck you, Billboard and Pitchfork. Only in this fictional universe. The 3.1, so tough. Though Daniel then immediately invoking it to goad Lestat, very funny and very satisfying. I thought that to your point about like music as expression and something that can unlock expression in a different form, which was one of the things we were, and I think in slightly different ways because you were a musical, like this was for you, just this is cocaine, right? Yeah. And for me, I was more like, I'm interested.
Yeah.
But I think that idea specifically in a series that is very focused on point of view, perspective, some sort of emotional truth and reveal, how interesting it was for music to be the conduit to expression, right? And I love that those two songs, which felt like I have also enjoyed the music all season, but did really feel like they transcended the achievement to that point. They achieved different things, I thought. Like the first, the stained glass eyes was to me music as self-care. Music is therapy. It's like Lestat working through what that encounter with Regina / Fraudia called up inside of him. The serenade to Louis is like that, and I like thinking about, is that supposed to be for Gabriella? Is it supposed to be for Louis? Could that answer be different depending on the moment?
I think it's for both of them, but when he starts performing it,
it's for Louis.
Clearly looking at Louis.
No question. And the blackening of the screen around them so that everything else is blotted out. And then we see the jealousy of like one of our favorite narcissists, Gabriella. Like, wait, this isn't about me. Someone else has a greater hold on you than I do. And so this idea of like being able to convey something to someone who you have experienced a rupture with, like a seismic rupture. And that element of episode 6 was just both for character, like this relationship that we're invested in, but just more broadly, like they're immortal vampires, but like they're also people, or they were once.
Yes.
And I loved the way that Lestat invoked in their argument, that human soul, that half of you that you like to call upon, like when it's convenient, basically, but that is there. And so what a human way to try to express, and then just the very organic, natural, like flirtation and the half smile and look and the in the limo, first limo ride, more flirtatious and charming than the second when things obviously went wrong. Tough to see that a person you're in love with is fucking their mom.
It's not how you want to find out either.
No.
Your current boyfriend texts you, hey, is this your ex fucking his mom?
Incredible.
Unclear.
I do like the idea that Daniel prodded Shirley by Armand is like, I'm just going to distribute this on my own. I'm uploading this.
Oh, yeah.
This is great.
Independent journalism, we love it. The comp that I made in our notes here and immediately came to me for episode 6 was the film Before Sunset, the middle piece of the Before trilogy. One of my favorite movies. I love any of those movies is a walk and talk movie, and this. So you could slot it in anywhere, but the way this hits Before Sunset is there's the like. It's not meeting someone, and it's not the like, okay, we're together. What does that mean? It's the reconnection.
Yes.
It's so funny. I invoke this phrase all the time, and then I had a listener email me and was like, "Do you know that that's literally from just one film studies book?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I read that in college." Okay, I thought it was a broader thing, but the comedy plot of remarriage, which is a phrase I like to talk to, but it's one of my favorite tropes. This is what Much Ado About Nothing is about. This is what the Philadelphia story is about. Like, it's, we used to be together, we were apart, now we've come back together, and there's just something undeniable here, despite all of our resentments and all the real reasons why it didn't work out the first time. There's something so strong here, but we know each other, and we know how to push each other's buttons. And so all, like, that energy of, like, history hanging over you, knowing exactly how to cut someone, but also like, but I'm here with you. And this is still something, despite all that hurt.
Yeah.
And despite all that distance, there's still something here and it's worth pursuing.
Yeah.
And so it's one of my favorite storytelling, contrivances. And so to have that here inside of this, it's Halloween night. We walk out of the apartment and it's like, we have to meet with the witch in a couple hours. And so we're going to have dinner with Dan and we're going to go to rehearsal and then we're going to go to have a séance and we're going to go get our heads chopped off on a bench,
Not ideal. It's a busy day.
But it's a one crazy night, which is another sort of trope that I love, meets the comedy plot of remarriage, which is not a thing, but I'll keep trying to make it a thing on a microphone. And you know, and it's vampires all inside of, and it's a musical all inside of a show that I love. So thanks for this gift.
Thriving.
I really appreciate it.
You're thriving.
I don't know how they can possibly top with the finale, but we'll see.
Excited to find out. I love the Before Sunset shout out. That's great. The Before trilogy is one of my 3 favorite trilogies ever made. I just adore those movies, as you know. And one of my hot take child of divorce takes, which I think I said on the Before Sunset rewatchables, but can't remember, is that Before Midnight is actually
your favorite.
My favorite, because I'm a child of divorce. So I'm just like, there's something so raw and real about being like, even this great love.
If we were to take the GQ best friend
you would know
test,
that.
And they were like, which of the Before movies is Mallory's favorite? I'd be like, Before Midnight,
and the
obviously.
True answer is like, my favorite Before movie is the one I'm watching at that moment. But like, Before Midnight has a hold on me that is, I think, undeniable.
Yeah.
Because of the role that divorce or just like fractures in relationship has played in my life. But Before Sunset, there is something about, I think it's a perfect comp for this. And one of the things I really love about your observation is like, there's an interesting part of this with Lestat where like thinking about Lestat and Louis through that lens of rediscovery, right? Something is really toxic or wrong or damaging in the relationship, but you're drawn to each other. There's a pull that is undeniable. Mm-hmm. There's a magnetism that will keep bringing these characters back to each other. That's like also, and so when you say that, and you think about the Before movies, you want to think of it as a relationship, a duo that is like distinct. You think you watch these movies, and you're like, will I ever know a love like that? Will I ever lose a love like that? Will I ever miss a love like that? You could apply that description to Lestat and Gabriella. That like we are just we hurt each other, we wound each other. Yes, maybe, yeah. This idea that part of an immortal life, part of just the span of time and the swath of time is like, do you find yourself moving back towards someone who has probably wounded you or who you have hurt seismically?
Yeah.
Because the centuries will pass and you will both still be there. That's like, and I think that the love that and the draw that Louis and Lestat have is in many respects different from the one that Lestat and Gabriella have. To be clear, I think one of those is actually love, and one of them is a needy, narcissistic, befouled obsession.
Yeah,
but still, like the fact that Lestat is like, you left me in this episode again. He's like, why did you leave me? Which time?
Yeah.
But here they are again.
Yeah.
This is interesting to think about.
By the river when you were 3.
Very tough. The stick stuff was so good.
It was really funny. What does that stick to? What does that stick to?
Incredible.
All right. Let's go now to our deepish dive.
Love it.
All right, because we are doing 2 episodes matched together, we're just going to sort of hit some buckets along the way. We're not going to go beat by beat in these 2 episodes. And I just think we should begin at the end. Let's begin at the end.
Wonderful.
Which is the Halloween setting. Here we are sort of back where we started in Montreal. It's Halloween again.
Yeah. 2 years have passed, which is interesting. So the band has been together.
Yeah. And Alex at the beginning of the episode, Alex at the end of the episode. And then what I'm calling a fairly silly cliffhanger for a number of reasons. And I suppose if it had just been Lestat losing his head, I suppose some people watching at home could think, okay, we open this season, we hear that Lestat's dead. Is this how Lestat dies? Is he die because he gets his head chopped off on this bench?
Right.
And hey, folks, maybe still that's true, but I don't think so.
Sure hope not.
I mean, they're making a lot of adaptive changes, so I actually don't know. We haven't seen the finale. I don't know what they're going to do. Right. But I think there's no way we don't get a concert in the finale. I think that's a 0% possibility. And also, we've seen Louis alive with his head on his shoulders.
Correct, yeah.
Missing other body parts, but like his head is on his shoulders. So like Louis also being here, you're like, well, I know this isn't the end for these characters.
Yeah.
A reminder for folks at home that we were, because I heard from some people who watched this episode and they're like, I'm sorry, what's going on? They cut their heads off? And I'm like, well, if you overanalyze every single word of every single episode, you will know that they've been laying track for this in terms of like the head that Louis cuts off.
Jar Jar Binks fan, prequel kid.
Yeah, exactly. And still talks to. Our guy Fareed was hey, guess what? Certain class, powerful older vampires can have their heads cut off and they can still be alive.
So he said Class B vampires can survive for 2 hours after decapitation, but then went on to say a vampire of Lestat's breeding could last 4 to 5 times that. So
we got a ticking clock.
Math
8 to
is
10
not
hours.
our strength, but we've got a minute to deal with this. And what was interesting to think back on there was that Daniel knows that.
Oh, and Armand knows this.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're...
So they don't think they're killing them?
Right.
Are they teaching them a lesson?
We're going to have some theories in a second. I just really want to mention also one other thing, which is like, as Lestat may have mentioned once or twice, he has the blood of Akasha in him. So that makes him extra special juicy.
Yes.
And when he and Louis were sharing a pint in the bar, he put some of his blood at Louis' request into Louis' beer, and Louis was like, this tastes fucking delish. He orgasmic. I mean, he loved sipping on that blood beer that Lestat made.
Would you try blood beer?
If it's Lestat, maybe.
Yeah, Lestat blood beer specifically.
Lestat blood beer. Akasha blood beer I would also try. Put you on the ceiling. Why not?
That looked fun. That looked like a party, especially after the empty seat. Like, everyone's got their nameplate, but no one's there other than the cabbages. The literal heads of cabbage was so
and
funny.
The moldy bread from Armand.
Yeah, and then you're just sort of up in the ceiling. Oh, good time.
But so Louis freshly sipped on some of Lestat's blood, which you might recall has the blood of Akasha in it.
Does
so
it?
like they're
Interesting.
extra special juicy right now, juiced up on that blood.
Great stuff.
So let's talk about theories. I think this is a really fun place to theorize because this is not a thing that happens in the book, and we have not seen the finale. So what do we think is happening here?
I don't know. So Armand does not want the great conversion to unfold.
That seems like why, at least partially why he talked Larry into jumping in front of the subways. He's like, anything to fuck up the band, I will do.
Do you think he's just very, very, very familiar? Like, has he called up Elizabeth Fearman, our wonderful live events lead? He's like, run me through a pre-event schedule. Okay, that's exactly when sound check has to be. That's when this, doors at the... And he's just like, 8 to 10 hours. If I just fuck up that schedule, they can't do the concert.
That's so funny. Yeah.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Do you think?
Do you think they also eat California chicken wraps?
That's the pre-show, snack, maybe.
For the
some
show?
Pretzel chips. I love a pretzel chip. It's interesting because Lestat and Louis and Armand have such a depth of history, and Daniel and Louis and all of them have such history with each other, and like the rawness of the wound and that desire for vengeance is both deep and like newly fresh.
Right. And there's been these like very ominous mentions of like, and that's when I super pissed off Daniel. Yeah. And that's when I super pissed off and humiliated Armand. Yes. So like, are these just sort of like fresh humiliations and Daniel and Armand freshly together are like, it'd be really fun.
Right.
Fucking chopping off their heads. And like, maybe they are trying to make it permanent. Maybe they're going to, put Lestat's head in a bowling bag and just like, hide it so you can't reattach it.
If you leave the head sitting there on a nighttime park bench for 10 hours, the sun comes up.
Ooh, tough.
So that's concerning. We need someone to show up and scoop up those heads.
So my theory...
And take them away from the sunshine.
Not that we think much of her, but my theory is that this is a job for Gabriella because... Or the vampire tough cookie, of whom I am a huge fan.
Fantastic.
But because there was that weird line earlier where Lestat told Gabriella to like give Alex some attention. Yeah. And we saw Alex lurking about in his Dracula Masquerade stuff. Wonderful. Like really great and spooky. Yes. Like Alex was quite spooky in this episode.
Very.
But like eyes and ears for Armand or whatever the case may be, trailing them the whole night, who's to say. But if Gabriella is nearby, then like she could help. Another theory. This is just theories again, because I don't know anything. No. But like, what if they do snatch up Lestat's head, but they leave Louis behind because he's less important. And then it's Gabriella and Louis have to work together to find Lestat's head to put it back on his body.
I mean, that would be great. We probably only have 53 minutes
I need
left, but
5-hour finale.
I was gonna say, that would be...
Or they just pop their heads right back on at the beginning of the next episode. I don't know.
I like, thinking about Gabriella as a character who could be in a position of
not because
devotion
she cares.
And attachment. Yeah, maybe
I don't think it's
more
because she cares. It's because she needs the concert to happen.
Practical aspect of it, because it's like they're here to hear you sing the 50,000. Like we got to give them a show so that she can
great conversion.
Exactly, enact her agenda.
Yeah.
thinking about, so Gabriella as Alex's maker / mother, has she ever failed to properly understand the maternal presence in a young man's life before? Open to interpretation. Mileage may vary.
What would the cabbages say?
To pull, it's not just be present for Alex, it's pull him out of Armand's thrall. Because we have not only, and we've been kind of since the minute we saw the AA meeting, the group, and then heard the way that Alex talked about Armand, I don't want to use the word sponsor. God. In this stretch, these specific things that Alex said to Larry, mentioning like their, him being a shitty goalie when they were kids, but you're a shredder with an axe, and then planting the seed about like, you can rest now. By the way, I was thinking of in a more pure and less potentially very evil and manipulative way. I was thinking of Pepper and Tony, and just like, you can rest now.
Rest now.
But Alex was saying to his brother, like,
I know, and then Armand
one more take and then rest. And then Armand uses that exact language when he joins Larry at the subway station. So the idea of Armand using Alex as his wedge, to go back to that scalpel idea to cut into the band, we have to pull Alex out of that power.
Right.
So that's going to be hard. How do you do that quickly, given the grip that Armand holds?
Oh, you feel like Alex could be, if Gabriella can use Alex to find out where Armand and Daniel have stashed the head.
Or just to compel him to basically work with them instead of Armand and Daniel.
Or still be in the band.
I mean, he does really feel strongly about making a good record. That's clear. On the Daniel's list of grievances front, and it's long, how high do you think one has to ask, what is with the tan, Dan? Did you indulge and overshoot your coffin again? How high up did that shoot on the list of like, fuck this guy? That was so funny.
Did you connect with, given your current sunlit glow?
The Daniel at the dinner.
Yeah.
When they brought in a descendant of the Liancots.
Uh-huh.
By the way, delicate and flowery, which sounds like a lovely description, I guess, if you're drinking a very attractive woman's blood. I was like, this is also kind of a dig, because like delicate flower is like an insult, I think. Like you're a delicate flower, potentially. Your blood is the blood of delicate flowers. Like we're gonna take you down. Maybe delicate flower can also be a compliment. I don't know if it was at that dinner, but it certainly could be.
I don't think anything that comes out of Dan's mouth is a compliment, so that's true.
True. My stepmom likes to refer to my dad, me, all of us when we're sick, and just
as delicate
flower. So this certainly could be a term of endearment. I clocked it immediately.
Now I get it. I'm like, I guess, and you're like,
these Rubins are such delicate flowers. You have a cough, and you're gonna bitch and moan about it for 2 weeks. It's like I am. But Daniel with the like really red kind of swollen face, but then the pale skin around the eyes because he clearly had sunglasses on, which I don't really wear, and I should because I live in Los Angeles. But I was like, that is definitely what I looked like. It reminded me July 4th weekend. Check the deep dive footage from Tuesday.
In high school, like a bunch of kids that I went to high school with would go like to Tahoe over the weekend to ski. Not me, but they did, and they would come back with like these obscene goggle tans. Yeah, obscene. Okay. Anything else you want to say about this beheading other than we don't think it's permanent? I think it's kind of silly, but okay.
I like it as something to add to their trauma, the trauma bond. Like this is, even if they just, the pop of those heads back on.
Going through it with Claudia wasn't enough. We got our heads lopped off together.
Mutual decapitation on a romantic park bench. It's going to be something that bonds them further. So that's nice. I thought that why do I actively manically pursue failure? Maybe it's just a vampire's burden. What do you replace death with? What's to live for if there's no end exchange that directly preceded the chopping of the heads? That was an intense thing to think about. And we love, like, we talk about this with Good Place, stories where you're like, that's a different context, but hey, there's no end in sight. Well, how do you find a sense
things matters because they end. Yeah. No, and this idea of failure, like the failures and sort of tracking when that gets reintroduced, like tracking when that voiceover comes back in, you're listening to side B, number 58, the failures or whatever. I think those moments are quite interesting to go back and sort of note when we are reminded that this is a massive failure for Lestat, all of what we're watching. Not just according to Billboard and Pitchfork, but like, objectively, whatever he was trying to do here absolutely failed. Yeah. And he failed with Claudia, and he failed with Louis and he failed with Gabrielle and all this sort of stuff like that. And so when you hear Maria screaming, fail, fail, as he's running out with Akasha, that's another one of his failures. Yeah. So I just think that's really interesting. But also like sort of his examination, like how ironic is this use of failures here at the end of the day, or how sincere is it? I don't know.
I love Lestat. And I want to support him in all of his endeavors. Not all of them, not the incest part. I stand with Louis. Don't fuck your mom.
How brave.
You shouldn't come in the door you came out of is iconic. Iconic. The Marius Akasha, you are now the keeper. And he's like, I just wanted to like stay in that muddy grave. What the fuck, man? Yeah. I didn't ask for this internship.
An 80-year dirt nap was not long enough. And I really relate.
I agree. I quite agree. This is real. You had one job stuff. Marius was like, no, don't let her drink some blood. And he's like, what if I paint you with my blood as beautiful, just a little pop of color on your lips? No,
my notes
party.
Are from Marius, who gave him stay a couple days to train him.
Yeah.
Don't just like yada, yada, yada. Here are the...
He's like, you only have one job, but you're going to learn on the job. Stop.
It's ash, not blood. Did you get that? Okay, bye. Like... Really tough.
Yeah.
And you're going to be alone here.
Yeah, for quite a while.
For like nearly a decade. Okay.
Just going to scratch the record and then what?
Speaking of which.
Yes.
The queen arrived. Akasha.
Boy.
We regret that we had to miss last week. And I really regret that we had to miss Akasha's arrival. That is like the one thing that I really wish we had gotten to talk about in real time. But hey, we're talking about it now. Queen of the Damned. Herself. Akasha.
Yes.
Mother of all vampires. Meets Lestat. King of mommy issues. What could go wrong?
I'm sure it'll be fine.
What could go right? Blink and you'll miss a moment where I think Marius implies that Akasha wanted to kill Gabriella, eliminate the competition. He says to Akasha, wanted to take care of her, as you said. Well, he was there, she was not. Wanted to take care of her, as you said. And
Interesting.
I don't know how to interpret that other than like take care of her as in like kill her, because I don't think it was like give her a pedicure.
A relaxing spa day? No?
Though I think Marius would be good at a pedicure. I just have that feeling. But so like, was Akasha like also like, you should not come in the door you came out of? Or is she like, no competition for queen of all mommies? Or, what's going on there? I don't know.
Some sort of kind of immediate connection and heightened tie, right? Because Marius basically says, I had to wait for fucking ever.
Yeah, and she's like, hey, honey, right away.
Immediately whispering into Lestat's mind about various things, including ice cream scoopers, who among us.
Scoopa.
And wanted him to be retrieved for this job. So that's interesting, too. Like, why him? I mean, why not him? Who wouldn't pick him?
Yeah. On the official pod, they asked Sheila at him this question, and she was like, basically... Oh, she said like something about the charismatic twinkle, I think is one of the phrases she used, which is like,
love that.
Of course, extremely true. But also she was just talking about this idea of like wanting to have someone who matches her.
Mm-hmm.
And like, she's an incredibly powerful person.
Right.
And in Lestat, she sees someone who is potentially incredibly powerful.
Well, that was the kind of recurring refrain in that stretch. And I guess in general across the show, this idea of like, are you worthy, right? Are you worthy of being chosen? Are you worthy of someone's love? So Marius identifying him as worthy at first of this appointment. But then when he comes back to find that Lestat has failed to follow the fairly simple, just don't give her blood. Like just one thing, just don't give her any blood. And then he says he's unworthy.
Yeah.
So unworthy of the responsibility, unworthy of the inheritance.
Yeah.
Jealousy.
Oh,
no question.
I think quite jealous.
Yeah.
I think Marius is quite jealous there.
Yeah.
This is what Sheila said. She said the magnitude of rage that Akasha has, she's going to need someone by her side who can match her. Marius, not so much.
Yeah.
Charismatic twinkle, fortitude is what she said. Those are the notes I took. As Roland Jones said in the official pod, that this was like essentially their pitch for season 4. How did it work for you? More of this?
Fantastic. Yeah.
Is this a season of television?
Why not?
Okay.
There was a intrigue and a menace entwined in these sequences that I really loved. The design, the character design, the fact that there's this like, from Marius, he's like, It took me so fucking long to get her on the slab. Yeah. And now I'm going to have to... But just the way that we built, that the tension mounted, the stone-like quiet tap, and then suddenly the ice cream scoop knocked over, and what is paired with that moment? What are these awakenings triggered by? The playing of the music, etc. And then the sitting up finally in the reach, and he has to decide still to take that hand. Right? So there's something working in both directions there, and he does. And then
desire.
Of course she brings him, brings him in.
In her mention, I mean, I have poured over her speech, and I have ideas about what each line means, and plenty of people have ideas about what each line means.
Man.
But I don't have a definitive answer because it's not book canon. Some of what she's saying here, there's lore. But when she's talking about desire, and I was wondering if that desire was her desire for Lestat or her desire for other things that she's done in her past. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But that idea of desire for Lestat, who among us, would not reach out for Lestat?
Deeply
especially
relatable.
After he washes the mud off of him. His post dirt nap wig, or just the mud they put in Sam Reed's hair. I just thought it looked great. I thought her design was amazing in a season of questionable wigs. Maria, some people are not fond of his particular wigs. I think she looks fantastic. Yeah. She was laying there that's her for most of the scenes. They put a mask on top of her face to make her look more immobile, but that is actually her laying on the slab. So that's incredible work.
Wild.
She was I was trying not to breathe, and it really looks like I wasn't breathing, which is great. There was a doll for one scene, I think, but the way she looks like a statue, but she looks incredible. She looks beautiful and terrifying. Yeah. And I'm just sort of I was ensorcelled, but
Same.
Also just petrified. It was just so incredible. And I love the way that she the way she starts with these sort of the addled mind of a vampire is scary. A very old, very powerful, addled vampire, scary. So when she's just asking all these questions, again, there's some lore here. And then there's also just sort of this litany of things that women have had to endure. That is the subject of her rant here. She's asking all these questions. She's confused. She's upset. She's all this sort of stuff. And then she switches to the answers, right? I am her. I am the girl. I am the answer.
Yes.
It's so scary and so good.
It was very disarming in a quite compelling way. I thought that the I am the girl, I am the god, I am the voice, I am the soul, I am the night, all that whole stretch, because I know nothing about the story here, I was oh, okay, how much of that is, in terms of tense, right? And the point of view question, how much of this is Akasha speaking in all those respects about herself and her evolution and her journey and the different aspects that she can manifest or embody? Mm-hmm. Or is there some aspect, or maybe not, or maybe it's or some aspect of especially because I was thinking about the recurring beat across the season of the voices and the hearing the voices and the channeling of the voices and who and the great vampire army sprawling across the world is voicing something that you, the antenna, right? I'm is this everyone else? Is she parroting or channeling the voices of the other vampires that are a part of her tree? I don't know the answer, but that I think either feels potentially
in play. Were you excited to hear tree when you love talking about coaching trees?
I love coaching trees. And as you know, I just love trees in general. I do love trees. So trees coming up a couple times from Marius. That was exciting. I thought that on the visual front and the speechifying, the kind of almost I can't control the monologue that's coming out of me again, who among us?
Come on the pod, Akasha.
Yeah, Akasha, come and join us on House of Mar.
So Akasha, Massaria are two podcasting talents waiting to happen.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
A must listen.
And it's not just that's a must watch as well. Yeah, that's why the video pod era is upon us. There was something about there's the idea of power that has to be both preserved and contained, right? We have to protect and nurture and keep. But in this exact way.
Right. Don't wake them up.
Yeah.
Feed them, but don't wake them up.
Ominous and a harbinger, but also feels even though we understand that Akasha is the supreme force, also interesting to kind of apply that logic to our other characters.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. On the sort of musicality front, we've been talking all season about this, about the way in which this show even before it was a musical, what had such musicality to the language. And hearing Roland Jones say that he always writes to music was so unsurprising to me. Like, I was just like, of fucking course he does. And so I was just thinking back through like some of these like moments that feel like lyrics, feel like refrains almost that we've experienced. Like the Louis' last monologue before he becomes a vampire in the season premiere, which I think about all the time. I run to the bottle, I run to the grift, I run to bad beds, I lay down with a man, I lay down with the devil, and he has his roots in me, all his spindly roots in me. Lestat. Or like, is that what makes you fascinating? Armand's repetition of that. Did you eat the baby? Did you stutter as a child? Dan's journalistic repetitions, like all of that. And so when you get to Akasha and her sort of like, I am, like it just like goes into this idea of like the way this show is written and the way it's not just the music, it's the words that become these earworms of just sort of like, I just like have lines of the show running through my brain, not just the quick, clever asides that we love, but also just these grandiose speeches that are delivered in this rhythmic fashion that just like spindly roots in you of language. I just love it.
Gorgeous.
All right. I don't need to go into all the lore that's here at all because some of it would be considered spoilers, I would say, but she mentions this name Amal.
Yes.
And I think that's worth noting that that's the name of the original demon that made Akasha the first vampire. So before she was a vampire, she was just a girl. She was a queen. Not just a girl. She's a queen of Egypt. Or like actually, I think it's Egypt. They sort of take over the sort of like Osiris. Anyway, she was a queen. And I would say like, but she was like one of the many girls that she mentioned in the speech. Like she was once a girl.
Right.
Before she became a queen and then a vampire, but she knows what it is. And then, she did things that I would not say make her a girl's girl, but maybe she has changed her mind after many centuries on this lab. So I think about. And then her mate next to her, Enkiel. So they were like the original vampires. They've turned to stone as their desire to connect to the human world has ebbed, but they must be kept alive, for they are the life source of all the vampires. And that's the sort of anecdote that Marius tells when he's like, I left Enkiel out in the sun, and then a bunch of vampires just burnt up in flames because we're all connected, right? And Lestat's like, good thing I found a bog.
And Marius is like,
a bog. A bog.
A bog. The yearning tendrils for the bog was so funny.
Yeah.
I had a couple questions about this just in terms of the vampire canon of this universe. Because, like, kill the one, kill the many, like a very,
kill the sire, kill the,
Yeah, that's a part of the wider canon and in many stories. So this is here to, like, if someone definitively killed Akasha, every vampire is gone?
That's the fear.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my understanding.
Yeah.
There is like a core, a vampire core.
Okay.
A source of a power. Let's call it a glowing ball. Why not?
Beautiful.
Every time a new vampire is made, it gets sort of like diluted and spread out to the new vampires. And so like when Akasha and Keel were originally made, they were voracious in their appetite and could not stop killing and making and stuff like that. And as they made more, their sort of appetite dwindled. But there's this question of the great conversion is like, can you dilute the core too much? Like that's sort of a question around this vampire math we're doing here.
Okay.
Is there such thing as too many? But there's this thing, and it's interesting because later, one of the lyrics that Lestat sings in Brutal of the song he sings to Louis talks about a thread.
Right.
There's this idea of the silver thread, which is almost this like vampiric umbilical cord that connects all of the vampires. So but the core can reside in other vampires. So it is currently housed in Akasha. She is the original.
Okay.
But should that house not be hospitable anymore, there are other places the core can go.
Okay. So is it reasonable to assume that even if she were not killed, but if she were harmed, that because of what we learned from Marius and Lestat, like the feel, even though the moon was out, feeling the burning, if she were just harmed, that a number of vampires in the Great Conversion could be eliminated and culled, that the Great Conversion could be counteracted, not even by killing her, but just by
wounding her.
Is that
theoretically?
in play?
I think theoretically
Maybe?
That's possible. Yeah.
And then is it correct that tie, that potentially mortal tie, that's not in place with other Maker fledglings? Like when Magnus died, Lestat was fine.
Oh yeah, no, it's not.
Right. So
it's
that's just an Akasha and the
Akasha
wider
and
web.
a kill, sort of thing. Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Because that would have been concerning.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. A couple other things before we leave Akasha, our queen here.
Yes.
It's a great question. And like the question of like how much the show is engaging with exactly the vampire canon of Anne Rice, I'm unsure.
An open one.
Because they're making some changes.
Just heard the Baltimore. Ooh, an open one.
An open one. A really brilliant viewer connected this Akasha speech to this really eerie Samuel Beckett piece called Not I that he did in the 70s, where it's like this woman who has experienced a lot of trauma in her life. The way the play is put together, it's just a spotlight on a woman's mouth and it's all black otherwise. And she's like, I think 7 or 8 feet off the stage. It's just her mouth. There's videos of this. It's like quite terrifying, but that sort of like extremely rapid speech. And the repetition of the bewilderment of like what has happened and all this sort of stuff like that is very similar. And so I would not be surprised. And especially given that Vampire Sam has been like sort of connected with Samuel Beckett, I think that would be an interesting comp. But like a really cool kind of obscure possible inspo here.
I like that.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, really? And then I watched the video and I was like, it's there. And it's really scary and really good. But it's, this idea of like a woman who has been voiceless for so long, finally having a voice. And what are all the things that would come out were she given that opportunity? Ooh. This is also Lestat's origin as a musician, the birth of the artist, right?
Yeah, this was really interesting because learn to endure the depths of living, find yourself, Lestat, as a note from Marius. There's something kind of like empowering and encouraging about that ish in the context of Marius being like, I pulled you from a grave you didn't want to leave and gave you a job you don't want to have. But then the fact that Lestat is like, I don't know how to play, and Marius tells him to recall his fledgling, to mimic Nikki. And this idea that a wound, because that's a source of pain, but also watching Nikki play initially was a source of joy. Just a nice little reminder that those things are really never separate from each other for Lestat, which is quite sad. Quite sad. This was also like the stretch of the blood overwhelms. Lestat will bring it up later with Louis. And Louis kind of like, I'm calling bullshit on you using that as an excuse.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It would be sort of a show invention. I don't think the show is trying to like excuse everything that Lestat ever did, but is it something Lestat is trying to do? Yeah. Like when he dropped Louis, from the sky.
Yeah.
Is that a moment where he was like, oh, the blood of Akasha just took over and I didn't have control over that? And is that real or is that just an excuse he's making?
Yeah. I like the idea that the show is, especially, it was funny how they laugh, right? They sort of mock the gravity of invoking that idea, Louis and Lestat in that scene. But that was where my head was, okay, is there some actual, like, what is inside of me and how do I learn to either suppress or channel or wield or combat it, whatever the case may be. But yeah, that, it made me, I won't get into like House of the Dragon spoilers for people who aren't caught up on that, but it did remind me a little bit of the conversations we've been having about some characters on that show. And like, what do you see and identify and say about the circumstances in your life that allow you to then kind of justify your bad behavior?
Sure.
And so that felt, what am I supposed to do? I have the blood of Akasha in me.
I have the blood of Akasha in me. Also, my mom fucked me, so I don't know. Not my fault. Last but not least, and I do want to move on, but last but not least, I will just say that like it's not just Lestat's music that awoke Akasha, though that is canonically sort of what happens in the book is that him playing wakes her up, and then again later she's like, this rock music, how interesting. Okay, it's his existential pondering, right? Like,
yes.
when the scoop goes clattering to the ground, it's because he's saying, if you were the first, then who made you? Why do we exist? Why do we endure it all? And why did she leave me? Am I evil? Is my evil sanctioned by nature or divine error? Where is God? And then Akasha awakes like brimming with her own questions, her own sort of existential questions. So I like this idea of just like she's responding not just to Lestat the musician, but Lestat the philosopher, Lestat the thinker, Lestat the lover of incest. I don't know. You know, I think that connection, and that's very Lestat in his narration in the book. This constant, am I evil? Like, who made me? Why am I here? Sort of stuff. So
I love that. Well, waking via connection and then counteracting the great conversion via connection. That feels very much in play. Now you know why there are so few of us. I said this back ages. We are all connected to her. She is the seed, and if she burns, we all burn. Feels like that'll come into play.
I mean, yeah. Sure does. Okay. Stained glass eyes. I don't want to dwell too long on episode 5 when we're here to talk about episode 6. Anything more? We already talked about this, but anything more you want to say about Stained Glass Eyes? An incredible performance that we didn't already talk about.
Man, I just thought this was really, really, really good. I thought that Lestat, the look on his face when he went to the diner, Brick and Bacon, what an establishment. And just sat there and like you can see the pain and the guilt and the shame on his face, even though he is very much in the like fact finding for Louis and also like trying to stifle and contain this the toxicity of what is unfolding between the two of them. The just going back to the studio and immediately penning this ballad, like immediately, don't you try to forget all the things you regret. Like oh my God, what an incredibly powerful idea. And I just thought it was really a lovely, lovely sequence.
I think Jacob Anderson as Louis in the car when he's like begging for Lestat to help him is incredible shit always. And then Sam Reid as Lestat when he sees her, just like these guys are just top tier, incredible stuff.
I did love because Louis is texting him, begging him to come help, and Lestat's like, I got shot.
Yeah.
And you didn't even call. You didn't check on me. And Louis,
next time I get shot, pick up the phone.
I like the fact that Louis had the grace to say, like, I'm selfish. I'm selfish. And like, I knew you were going to bring it up. And I don't have an excuse. I actually don't have an explanation. And I'm sorry.
I really love this. Like, he's like, I'm selfish. And right in close proximity to Armand being like, to Dan, you know, you shaded him as a saint.
Yes.
You shaded him in gray as a saint.
But
Louis cruel.
Yeah.
So like,
yes,
the real Louis that we're getting to know to a certain degree, who does not pick up the phone when you get shot in the street.
Very tough.
But this sort of like, you came, you called moment. This is like a trope I love. And like Gabriella has sort of like invoked it a couple times. But her appearances are so toxic and so conditional and so sort of like when she decides you came, you called, she's going to show up. But like Lestat's in the middle of recording his album and Louis texts him and he's like,
I'll go.
You know, he shows up.
I'll go.
You came, you called. Like,
and the way that when he walked out of the restaurant over to the window of the car, he's like, it's not her. And the way you mentioned earlier, the kind of entwinement of truth and lies, that he is telling Louis what he knows Louis needs to hear.
Yeah.
It's not her. And even invoking the specificity of to Louis, the eyes, but to Regina, to Fraudia, she's like, I look like her, don't I? Like, I can see on your face how much I look like her. And he's like, you have the hip, the gait, the heart murmur. Yeah. Here's the list of differences that I logically can point to rationally tell myself that it's not you, so that I don't fall into the pit that Louis was in. But yeah, you can see that like he doesn't make the same decisions Louis does, but you can see how easily that could happen.
I love this, like, the day you were born, I was shaken like a leaf on an old oak tree. Then you stayed like a thorn, red roses raining down till they flooded me. This, like, idea, obviously we love a tree, we love a botanical imagery, but, like, how much he was so reluctant to make Claudia, how he didn't want to, how that scene plays differently in Lestat's recollection versus Louis' recollection, all of that. But also, like, you stayed like a thorn, like, you were around and you were
stuck,
obnoxious, and I hated you. But also, you're a beautiful rose. And also, in the same song, he's got lyrics that invoke harrowing image of her turning to ash and looking at him at the trial, and just sort of like her eyes being, locking with him as she absolutely turns into ash. Did you think that when he was in the fairly comical sequence when he's running out into the sun to scream into the microphone to get that scream just right? Yeah. Did you think that like he was thinking about? I mean, it's really funny when he like shows up increasingly like burned and blistered. But like, great. Did you think that he was thinking about Claudia at all in that sort of like? Yeah. How can I capture the worst thing I've ever heard?
Yeah, I think they're all always thinking about each other, and I mean that the thorn thing is so perfect because it's like the idea of being embedded. Someone else embedding themselves in your very essence, so that there's like an inescapable quality to it. And then, we'll talk about the scene separately in a few minutes, but the way that the ghostly specter of Claudia, snipped Achilles and all, Louis is there for closure and an absolution and to hopefully see that he says quiet, like a sense of peace. That is not what happens at all. Yeah. And the idea that it connected very powerfully and poignantly with what we've talked about all season, like who actually has the definitive account and record of what transpired. Mm-hmm. And, Claudia, just like each of them, has an agenda. So is the thing that Claudia is saying, which in some respects kind of absolves Lestat of the blame, both private and public, is how true is what she's saying, or is it intended to just wound and hurt?
How true is anything of what she says is a question, but her anger is real. Her emotion is real. Dick Salt, working title.
Incredible
Brutal
stuff.
Love, this song.
Incredible.
We already talked about this. I don't need to get into it, but I do want to go back to this like lyric about a distant thread and a restless hand, and sort of like, constantly sort of pulling on this thread. So like, I feel like it's invoking the red string of fate, that concept, and umbilical cord, because the song is definitely also about Gabriella,
right?
And then that silver cord that connects all vampires to the source. And I love that this song is about Gabriella and Louis, but sung only to Louis. I love that. We've already mentioned that.
Yeah, it was so good.
I love all the possibilities of what this idea of the thread can mean, but like how that thread, that before sunset thread, connects to most of your songs are about me.
Yeah.
You bought a restaurant 3 blocks from my house.
Let's talk about the proximity of your restaurant was so good.
Let's talk about, and we watch them walk from his apartment
down the street
to the restaurant, And so those are like, a little Taylor Swift of it all, but like invisible string, this thing that connects them and the way that they're constantly tugging on it while having plausible while Lestat says the songs aren't about him. And he's like, the songs are about him.
They're about him.
I just like real estate. Yeah. Sure. Right around the corner from your house.
Revpar? Is that the?
Yeah.
Fraudion Madeline. Oh, I'll just tell you about Revpar. I love the, I mentioned earlier the trying to parse the look on Sophia's face as she is looking at Louis throughout this soundcheck rehearsal stretch, and then especially during Brutal Love. And speaking of threads and ties that connect, it felt to me like this was their version of, is that what makes you fascinating? Right? Looking at him through that Daniel, is that what makes you fascinating? Like,
who is this New Orleans boy and why?
Yeah, it was just great.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there was something.
It's such a, I have to imagine they did several takes of that moment where she like turns and looks at him. The camera isn't focused on him, it's focused on her. And the one they picked is such it's a very slow turn.
Yeah.
And I feel like we all know, like we're watching it and we're like, what she's processing and what she's thinking, but like they picked a fascinating take there. That's what makes
is that what makes the take fascinating? Yeah, it's so good. And it just felt, even though I think we both agree that the lyrics could apply to either of them, and at some points maybe he would have chosen to direct his serenade toward his mother instead of Louis. It felt to me like more intimate than watching them fuck.
I agree.
And especially because we then get an actual Louis is watching Gabriella and Lestat fuck, and he's just like, this is gross and weird, and this is a sickness, and maybe the source of all your sickness. The tonal distinction of Gabriella processing, and some of it is the jealousy of the narcissist, but some of it is really feeling on the outside of a relationship that has been defined by an unholy level of closeness and proximity.
And I think it's narcissistic, but I also think it's like logistical in terms of like her agenda, which is that this concert go off without a hitch, and knowing that Louis doesn't want the concert to happen. Yeah. And she's like, maybe you shouldn't go for your own protection. I don't know. You know, but like
the cities of like where he's had some sort of confrontation with an enemy.
Yeah.
Not subtle.
Not great. But you know, so worried about her, you know, if Lestat is her little puppet.
Yeah.
Like, who is this other guy who can pull the strings on him, you know? And and speaking of strings, I love the moment where Lestat is like, has this bratty response to the string section, right? Like, you could be doing more.
Yeah.
Right? And Louis like smiles fondly, where he's just sort of like, yep, there he is. Yeah. Lestat, the brat, my guy. Yep. There he is. And then an interjection of the failures right as the song concludes. Right as we have this conclusion of this song, which is just this like incredibly beautiful song. Even if Salamander doesn't think so.
Yeah.
And incredibly like, I mean, this is a huge achievement, I would say. And their connection. Yeah. And then it's like, you're listening to the failures.
Yeah.
This is a failure, what you're watching here.
Sad.
All right, Dan gets a suntan.
So good.
You already mentioned this, but like, how are you feeling about this Armand and Daniel connection? Armand being like, I've been here the whole time, you know, pulling the strings from the shadows of your life.
I loved that because it was intended to be a declaration of proof.
Yeah.
Daniel's like, I call bullshit on this, like, you're professing your love to me.
Yeah.
And Armand says, let me go through the list of moments over the last half a century where I watched you and I knew how you were suffering and I wanted to make sure you were okay. Your daughter rejected you. I led you to a chapel. The guy told you to leave. I got rid of him so you could sit and cry.
Yeah.
You fucked and maybe sexually assaulted one of your students.
And I made sure he forgot.
I made sure he forgot about it. Whoa.
Yeah.
Grim. As is so often the case with Armand, and this is one of the delicious aspects of his character, there's a read on that is so sinister.
Well, and that's,
you watched me from the shadows, didn't tell me you were there, and tried to like puppet master my life.
Right. Well, the puppet mastering of Armand, like that's
Armand.
That's his MO.
Yeah.
But like, I think what's interesting is that Dan, sort of similar to like Lestat being like, I have the blood of Akasha in me, so I'm not responsible for things I've done.
Right.
Dan has given this sort of statement a couple times. It's sort of like, ever since you mind fucked me in the 1970s in San Francisco, listen to my failures. Yeah. Here's all the things that I did that fucked up, and it's all because of you.
Right.
I had addiction problem because of you. My relationships didn't work out because of you. All this is because of you, because of what you did to me. The Dan we met before Armand showed up was not on the straight and narrow. You know what I mean? He was not living his best life out there. And so like this has been his idea the whole time, that Armand did this to him. And Armand's like, I didn't just do that to you.
Right.
I covered up your sexual assault as well. You're welcome.
My God.
Really grim.
My God.
Really fucking grim. Anything else you want to say about Dan and Armand? I will say I loved, and speaking of like lingering shots, the shot of Armand's face at the close of episode 5 after Laria stepped in front of the subway. And he's just so beautiful. So doll-like. He's just so gorgeous. And he's done this horrifying thing.
The calm, the stillness.
Yeah, so still. The what I thought was interesting is they use this like blurring effect on Akasha's mouth when she's talking. That I thought was like very cool, you know, just like heightens the surreality of what you're watching. And they mentioned that they wanted to match the fact that like when Armand, who is like a more powerful vampire than the other vampires we've met, is really in his powers, his eyes vibrate. And so they're like, we wanted to like do something for Akasha where it's just sort of like, this is even more. And what more might we do with Akasha, who is, you know, the first?
I love it.
Sort of thing. All right. Anything else you want to say?
Just as always, I want to just take 10 seconds to appreciate the Daniel Malloy comedy.
Please.
Because
give us the greatest hits.
It's your boy Daniel Malloy, very, very funny. Like very, very, very funny. But at dinner, I know we were going to talk about this later, how did they make a Travis and Taylor joke the week of the wedding?
Oh, I know. Really
incredible.
Good. Really good.
Like that's like cosmic fortune there, or maybe just very careful planning.
Lucky.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of lucky. Like Travis and Taylor, when you're going to set the date, is something they could have written like
at any point.
Yeah,
but then it just so happened to be incredibly timely and relevant. Yeah. Great stuff. Sheridan Blackwood. Dumb name. So funny. He just has to get still fanging Sophia. Incredible.
Yes.
And of course, on the precipice, on the brink of releasing the interview with the Vampire Lestat.
Yeah.
Ready to eat your own. I mean, ready to eat your own as he is about to reveal the
his
incest.
face when he says that.
I have no notes. Ready to eat your own is iconic.
Really good.
Wait until Daniel Malloy learns about Daemon Targaryen's dreams.
It's your boy, Daniel Malloy. All right. Exorcising demons. So this is a double. So we already talked about this, about like Lestat and Louis have it out in the street.
Yeah.
And this is like a horrifying moment for Lestat. And the denial, the panic, the blood vomiting.
Yeah.
This isn't his most intensely guarded shame.
Yeah.
Like there is intensive shame here for him. And we love journalists.
Yeah.
You know, we had a sunshine problem here. Here we go. Here's some sunshine on this information. It's out here. And now Louis knows. And now Louis knows more about Lestat than he ever knew before.
Yeah.
And they already knew each other quite well.
Yes.
And he knows even more here. And then they go through this experience with Claudia where they are confronted with, you know, some fictions that she told about Lestat, but also just sort of like having to confront her anger, what they together did to her.
Yeah.
And so and then, you know, we wind up on the bench and they lose their heads. But just bringing all of this nastiness up and out into the sunshine, not to like, vampires can't do that, but Dan can, Dan the Tan can, but like bringing that all up and then just sort of like, and then being connected even more afterwards.
Yeah.
I love it.
So good.
I loved it.
The initial response, let me put it this way, are you hitting the same vagina you spent the first 9 months of your mortal life in? And Lestat, who very quickly will not even be able to form a coherent sentence and is vomiting blood everywhere because he's just so mortified that this has come to light, even though he will then say, I guess I wanted it to. The fact that he, just for another second there, has the wherewithal and composure to be like, well, anatomically, there's the womb.
Yeah.
And then there's this the show is just, God dear, so good. Man.
I just love, they're fighting. Lestat will not let Louis walk away from this. Louis is like, I was really worried that Louis was just going to walk away and this is just going to be like, they wouldn't talk to each other again for another season of television or something like that.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the shame that Lestat, I think with apologies, it's fair to say, should feel.
Yep. You have to apologize. We can be anti-incest on this podcast.
Can we? We cover it so routinely. I don't know. Louis' shame is also brought to the fore here when Lestat is like, there's the kind of comedy of you're being very judgy in the face of the just like litany of how, this is a really gross thing you've done. But Lestat's like, you're paying a girl to pretend to be Claudia. You're paying a girl to pretend to be Madeline. Do I say you're sick? No.
I come and support you.
Yeah. And so for Louis to have to confront his failing, which is different from fucking your mother, but is still a failing.
It's different.
It's different.
It's different for vampires.
It's different. I really loved that the way Lestat, you know, got Louis to basically just take a beat and think about what room there would be to still accept this person who has done a thing that is not acceptable, is to remind him that he has been present for Louis when Louis has done things that in different ways and to different extents are also like not acceptable.
This line that comes later, actually, when they're on the bench, clearly somewhere in the self-destructive scaffolding I housed my heart in, I wanted it known.
Yeah, that was great.
Bars. Okay.
That was great.
Merrick Mayfair, played by Sarah Affel.
This performance was amazing.
Fantastic. There's been some question. There is the Mayfair Witches show. This is not a character that has shown up on the Mayfair Witches. So this is not like, this is a new, I mean, this is a book character, but not one that it's not like you have to have seen the Mayfair Witches to have the context for her.
That's what I was wondering, if I was missing an element by not having seen that. Okay.
She's both a witch and a Telemasca agent, and now in need of some cosmetic dentistry. Here's what happened. So in the novel Merrick, written in 2000. Claudia's haunting Louis, and he has this, and he is just at his wit's end of what to do. He is in deep despair. He does not pay a waitress to pretend to be Claudia, but he does go to this witch.
Only Venmo'd her once. Hundreds of texts a day. But that was like, but wow.
That was really tough because like Louis has been like, I'm like, he's being relatively cool about this. No, hundreds of texts a day, really tough.
So rough.
Tough look for our guy. He does ask this witch to, bring about the spirit of Claudia.
Yeah.
And it's done very differently in the novel, and I'm interested in this adaptive change. So in the novel, and again, Claudia is described as looking like, Kirsten Dunst looks like in the movie, just this like little angelic doll looking girl. And when she shows up as the spirit, it's all like whispers and quiets, but it is menacing as fuck. And it's just sort of like, and her whole agenda in that sequence is to try to get Louis to kill himself. She's like, come join me, father. She's like, oh, you think I'm happy? Sheesh. I'm not. Do it. Come here. Come join me. What have you done to deserve to live? All this like coaxing him, trying to coax him into killing himself. Ooh. But this is something she says. I suffer, father. But she's whispering and she's gentle and she's girlish. She says, I suffer, father. I suffer and I wander. I know nothing, and all I once knew seems illusory. I have nothing, father. My senses are not even a memory. I have nothing here at all. So I love the way that it's done in that book, but I loved the way it was done here. This pure rage and violence and anger and in the book she becomes corporeal enough to grab something and stab him. She doesn't kill him, but she like stabs him with this object, and the witch cannot like control her and stuff like that. And so like when Claudia starts like sort of knocking papers around and stuff like that, like I thought that part was really cool. But just like, and she's out of the circle,
right?
And she's off the leash, and it's just sort of like so scary. Again, like similar to Akasha, it's like it's pitiful. You're upset when she's talking about how she can't find Madeline anywhere, and she's all alone, and she can't find her. Like horrifying when she talks about everything that's done to her. So you feel like so much like empathy for her and pity for her, and then you're also terrified of her at the same time.
Very unsettling.
I thought it was so good.
The initial Merrick when she's trying to summon and channel, and it does not work initially. There's the first like, what have you two been up to tonight? I need you to move your chairs further apart. You're blocking the gate about them, which was very good. Yeah. But then she's got rage about Claudia before channeling her in full. That's so interesting what you just shared about trying to coax Louis in the novel, because I like now thinking about, having not known that, the way that is slightly warped here, where Louis is the one who's like, I thought you were calling to me. Like, I thought you wanted me to join you. And she's like, if I did, I would have tripped Armand on the stairs. I don't want you anywhere near me. I hate you.
Well, she's not saying like, come join me so we can be together happily ever after.
Wants him to die.
She just wants him to die.
Yeah. Well, and then that's interesting too, especially, again, we talked about this already. We don't really think they're dead at the end. Their heads are probably going to plop right back on their beautiful shoulders. Right. But what this Claudia stretch gives us is a sense of like, there is no release from your turmoil. Death does not bring for these characters in this supernatural state.
You won't be together.
Quiet.
The two of you won't be together, or we won't be together, because I can't fucking find Madeline.
Yeah.
So we're damned after it all ends too.
I also really liked making the audience a little bit complicit for our tendency to side with Louis and Lestat in all matters. Like, I was thinking back to our conversation about Louis's very disturbing vengeance quest with Bruce, and I remember saying on the pod, like, boy, and watching Louis, he doesn't even have to look at the pages on the diary. He can recite it from memory. And then Claudia's like,
that make you feel good?
Did it make you feel good to pretend those words were yours? Yeah. And I was like, damn. That it was just so effective as a way to simultaneously bring you further into the closeness of these characters and their history with each other and their inner turmoil, and intentionally keep you on your back foot of like, don't assume you know why these people are behaving this way.
Right. Also, so this moment in season 1 when Claudia tells Louis that like Lestat threatened to like rape her on the train was like a thing that book readers were really like, whoa, whoa, look, Lestat would never do that. Right. And so this question of like, was Claudia even telling the truth? So in this scene, she's like, oh, did you like that little performance I put on for you, Louis, where I said Lestat did this. Oh, I was so scared. And so again, it puts us constantly, it's not just like we're watching Louis tell the story or watching Lestat tell the story. It's like inside the story.
Yeah.
People are unreliable narrators inside of the unreliable narrators,
I love that. And especially because they both evoke the idea of, Louis is like, he's surprised when they're walking after the scene. He expresses to Lestat that he is surprised by the thing he said of like, what about the thing you should be thanking me for, Bruce? And he's like, man, I have some work to do on myself, which Lestat will then on the park bench bring up. I've got some work to do on myself. And it to think about that, we watch Louis at the table with Fraudia and Madeline and the look on his face of disgust, confronting that that's what they think he wants to see, like when they start kissing at the end.
Do you think he was upset because of that or because of how bad her wig was?
Why not both? The old why not both?
Madeline's bad wig and accent, and I'm like, how different is this from the Capages sequence?
Really? It's a really great question. And then like she broke character and he's like, whoa, that's not what we're here for. But then they're back in character and he's like, is this what we're here for? I can't tell the difference anymore. Chief voice is still Lestat, very sad. The boat sequence.
When he like freezes her.
And his hand is quivering, like confronting not only what he is capable of, but why he is doing these things and what he thinks he is gaining from them.
Something that
gave me a chill.
They said in the official podcast I think was really interesting is that originally those scenes were flipped, that like the boat scene came first and then the Fraudia and Madeline dinner, because like the Madeline Fraudia dinner was written to be like, he's like, I've gone too far. I'm repulsed by myself. They were like, but when we watched those two back, the more disturbing one was the boat one. So we flipped when they came.
That feels
and
right.
I like really agree.
Yeah.
All right, back on the bench.
Yeah.
Season 1 nostalgia. Love these two on a bench.
Wonderful.
We already talked about this plenty. I do want to shout out because I have to. It is in me, and it is I must. When they're talking about their sort of like Southwest dreams, or of Nevada Southwest-ish, right?
I think so.
Ish.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah. I think so.
It reminded me of like in the musical Rent, this dream of like open up a restaurant in Santa Fe, escape everything in New York. Yeah. Save from devastation our brains. We'll go to Santa Fe. It'll be simple. Or if you prefer, in the musical Newsies, when Christian Bale sings about going to Santa Fe.
Great.
Like this idea of like the Southwest dream of like, we'll leave all of this horribleness.
Sounds wonderful.
Should we go?
Yeah, I've never been. We can go to some George R. R. Martin stuff, and we can have isn't that where they have the chili peppers, the green chili peppers on all the burgers? Isn't that a thing there?
Possibly.
I'm ready.
Okay.
It has to be a regional flight out of Burbank, I think. Ideal.
When he says what blooms at night, did you have any botanical thoughts? I went immediately to night blooming jasmine. As you know, I care a lot about jasmine as a climbing vine.
You do. I do know this about you. I am not much of a gardener, though I do love nature to observe it. So I had nothing pop to mind other pigeon, nature. No, I thought it made me think of just like nightshade and stuff like that, but no.
It also made me think of I've talked to you about the Bury My Bones in the Midnight Soil, the V.E. Schwab book. She has talked about how she wants to sort of start a universe of a kind, and she's calling it the garden. And it's just sort of like there are vampires in the garden, but like what else? What other creatures are in the garden? Just sort of like what else? And I was just thinking about that. I was trying to look to see if like Anne Rice had ever talked about her universe as a garden or like vampires as like night. But also, what's interesting is if you Google vampires and night blooming flowers.
Yeah.
There's a ton of cool, creepy ass flowers that are like named after vampires.
Incredible.
There's like a vampire orchid. No, but like
will?
they just like look, they're amazing and they're scary and I love them. That's all I just want to say about that. How'd you feel about the Heartstopper-esque finger brush that we get?
Great. I like the little pinkies.
Yeah.
Ugh,
with their little press-on nails. All right. Anything else you want to talk about before we get into like? I thought we'd do a roundup of fun and funny things. You've already hit plenty of these, but like, if there's any left over that we haven't hit, I want to shout out.
Yeah.
In this roundup of fun and funny things, I want to shout out. I just think the phrase "the vampire tough cookie" was really fun to hear.
Incredible.
I think her in the previous episode saying, "I don't play metaphorical drums," and then I think Yoko Mirin, which is what she calls Gabriella, is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yoko Mirin absolutely killed me. That was so funny. I quite liked all the commentary on the like luxury coffin. The Heston. You should be thanking me for this. Also, by the way, Lestat not keeping his cell phone in his coffin just seems very impractical to me.
Maybe it's like me, and he's breaking his phone.
Yeah. Maybe.
So he doesn't scroll in the coffin.
Maybe. But then as soon as it vibrates, he opens it, potentially risking exposing himself to sunlight. I don't know. Not ideal. Did you like when Daniel had his man on the street stretch? First of all, we got I'm a Yardophile. Iconic. Yeah. But were you getting BB report vibes?
No, unfortunately. You wanted to talk about Lestat's passport.
I don't know. It's so fucking hard to take a good passport photo. It's impossible.
Also, don't you have to show your ears now when you take your passport photo?
Oh, I don't know. I'm due to refresh mine actually. So my
memory is that you have to tuck your hair behind your ears.
Well, his was curly and luxurious as always, and he looked fucking incredible. And he was serving face in a passport photo, which is basically impossible to do. So shout out Lestat, you're really hot.
Canonically 5'9", 5'9" Lestat.
I mean, that's nuts.
Probably can't be true. I support 5'9" guys out there, but I don't think that's true.
It looks like he's 6'3".
I really love this quote. I spent half of 2 decades in the silken embrace of a chestnut casket purchased for my French Quarter townhome, for it was hurled off a balcony during one of Mr. Dulac's redirected moods. And we get the cut of the redirected moods is just an incredible phrase.
So good.
I'm going to start using that. I don't know when or how. Taylor Travis, we talked about the stick. Lestat's Spirit Halloween Grim Reaper costume.
Incredible.
Outstanding. And his enduring commitment to Halloween candy that he puts out the bowl and the sign, the please take one sign.
So good.
Really good.
When he first lifted the hood, I was like, oh my God, our guy is doing a
murder cloak?
Murder cloak, Wow.
I kind of felt that way about his murder hoodie.
Yeah, murder hoodie for sure.
Yeah.
But then he's like, no, I'm going to be the Grim Reaper for Halloween. Basically, was just incredible, as was the round of applause in Louis' Vamp Den restaurant when he took it off and revealed himself. That was so funny.
Or him singing out the side of the car.
Oh, that was great. I loved that.
To the adoring Vamp public.
That was wonderful. I was quite interested in the blood chalice, the delicate flowery blood, decanting it into the little smaller goblets.
We saw
fascinating.
Oh yeah, that whole device.
Yeah,
because we saw the decanting in season 1. Yes. But not the then it's spread out into smaller things. Or maybe that was season 2. The Grim Reaper thing, I think, is also a throwback to when Lestat and Armand are at the theater.
Right.
And Armand's like, you would be a better Grim Reaper. And Lestat says the scythe does a lot of work.
So
love that he's like, I got myself a plastic scythe.
I know what I want to be this Halloween. Yeah. Also, after he put on the costume and they're walking to the very proximate restaurant, as noted.
Looked lovely. And let's go to Montreal.
I would love to go to Montreal. I've never been to Canada. Vancouver, number 1 on my list, but I would love to do Montreal
lovely,
and Toronto. I went to Syracuse, so I was 2 hours from Toronto and somehow never went in 4 years. Disaster. Calamity. When Lem calls, and obviously he's the one who texts, did you see this later? Classic.
Mm-hmm.
But when he calls and Louis talking, Lestat's like, me too. What? Love, miss? But before that, Lem, ooh, lick me, Lem, was just hysterical.
Speaking of talking over people, was Nikki shouting page numbers from Daniel's book when Lestat was singing?
I could not possibly tell you.
He was shouting numbers, and I was like,
word of that.
What was happening? I think that's all the ones that I had.
Oh, last one. Yeah. And I actually thought this is maybe the line I liked the best, though it's such a crowded field. They've gotten into the limo after the dinner/interview. I owed him an ending with Daniel.
Yeah.
And Louis like, something seemed off. And Lestat replies, always. He's an awkward vamp. He has that you think you're better than me chip on him. And we are. It's exhausting to pretend otherwise. That killed me.
So good.
It's exhausting to pretend otherwise was just absolutely incredible. I loved it.
All right. Well, that is 5 and 6.
Yes.
We're going to.
One left.
I know.
How long will it be between seasons?
I would say at least a year and a half. Probably less time because they don't have to write an entire musical, which I think took a lot of time. Yeah. But probably a year and a half at least would be my guess. But we'll see.
Well, you know what? That's a year and a half for everyone who's not watching to catch up.
Catch up.
That's how I'm spinning it.
We're going to close out with some book spoilers.
Mm-hmm. Such a menacing laugh.
I know. It's so good. Good job, Carlos. All right. 50,000 of us out in the woods together. What could go wrong?
I'm going to assume quite a bit.
Yeah. I don't need to get into details, but it's not going to go well. And Akasha's showing up in the finale. So that's exciting.
I can't wait.
I'm really thrilled. Sheila said that she only filmed like a couple, so it's just like this scene in episode 5. And then I have to imagine she's like just in the closing scene of the finale is what it would be my guess. But I'm just excited to see her like out and about, not non-statue form at all, theoretically.
So if we're doing Queen of the Damned and Body Thief as subsequent seasons, like will Lestat and Louis be prominently in both of them?
Lestat certainly, and then they're just doing all this stuff to get Louis like still in the mix, this sort of thing. And that's what Dan McDermott from AMC said. Is he's like, we're figuring out a way to have Armand, Daniel, Louis, and Lestat sort of like in the mix for all of these. So like, how can we sort of contort the story to make sure that these characters that everyone's attached to are prominent? Like Claudia, bringing in the Merrick book into this season so that Claudia can be here. I should say, Louis does briefly kill himself after the Claudia seance scene in Merrick. And then he's resurrected.
Okay, so the chopped head is standing in for that?
I'm wondering if that's true, if that's the case. Like, do we need to see a Louis so despondent he kills himself? I don't know how he could get more despondent than like paying than he was in the car outside of the restaurant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's happened. Yeah. But I don't know. Okay, this is the big one though.
Okay.
In the Lestat voiceover in episode 5, he says, I Amel.
Uh-huh.
And then he says, after he says, I have slumbered in a variety of sarcophagi over the centuries. Mm-hmm. This is after he says the thing about the coffin in New Orleans, before he calls the studio basically a coffin.
Okay.
I've slumbered in a variety of sarcophagi over the centuries.
Yeah.
He says, I Amel. So, spoilers, the core of Akasha, the core of all vampires goes inside of Lestat, and he is possessed by Amel the First. And so,
exciting.
By the time he records the failures, this has already happened, which is like a very different timeline. But that, he has
interesting
the original demon inside of him as he's like, he says, I Amel. Like, that's what he says, right? So, like, it is Lestat talking, but it's Lestat with Amel inside of him, which is a wild thing to hear and know.
Interesting.
Goes over the heads of people who don't know who the fuck Amel is, and they're like, Stephen Amell? What are we doing? I don't know.
Has Lestat entered the Arrowverse?
But
will he save this city?
This is a huge deal, and it's another like time marker for book readers. So like, no, Lestat getting his head chopped off is not how he is going to die. And so we sort of know a bit more about when the failures is recorded, I guess.
Okay. Ooh, exciting. Maybe I'll try before season 4, try to read all these books.
I believe in you, but we've got a lot going on.
A year and a half.
You love lore.
I'm not going to commit to anything.
Yeah, you love lore.
Maybe I'll give it a go. Am I going to be scared?
No.
Are they very scary?
No.
Okay. Will you hold me in your arms if I am scared?
Let's curl up together and read them.
Play an audiobook?
Okay.
Wonderful.
Divine. That's all I have. We did it.
Just a delight.
Episode 7, we'll be back. Thanks to our coven, the tree connected to all of us, which is Jacob Cornett, Carlos Chiriboga, Scott Lee, Arjuna Ramgopowell, and Jomi Adeniran.
Our keepers.
We'll be back. Talk the Thrones, theoretically, is what comes after this.
That's right. I love to record out of order. Yeah. I have no idea.
What is time? Talk the Thrones.
That's right.
And then the deep dive.
Yes.
And then Oppenheimer.
Oppie.
And then the Odyssey.
Oddie. Yeah.
And then more Talk the Thrones, then more Lestat, and we do it all over again.
Wow. Yeah, that's right.
And then Comic-Con. All right. We'll see you soon. Bye.